In the vast expanse of the Galactic Council's domain, where 1,000 species bow to ancient traditions and cosmic hierarchies, one truth has remained constant for millennia. Humans are expendable, weak, short-lived, and technologically inferior. They serve as little more than laborers and cannon fodder in the grand design of galactic civilization. But when the great dragon of Xerion demanded its traditional tribute, a living sacrifice to appease its cosmic hunger, the Council made a choice that would shatter everything they thought they knew about the universe. They offered up a human child, believing it a small price to pay for continued peace. What they didn't understand was that some bonds transcend species. Some love defies cosmic law, and some parents will burn down the very stars themselves to protect their young. This is the story of the day the galaxy learned why humans had survived against all odds, why they had spread to every corner of known space despite their apparent weaknesses, and why, above all else, you should never ever threaten their children. The Council thought they were making a simple transaction. Instead, they awakened something that had been sleeping in human DNA since the dawn of their species, something that would make dragons look like house pets and cosmic entities reconsider their place in the universal order. The age of human subjugation was about to end, and it would end with fire. The crystalline chambers of the Galactic Council hummed with nervous energy as representatives from across the known galaxy gathered for an emergency session. Towering Kytherian delegates, their chitinous exoskeletons gleaming under the artificial suns, clicked mandibles in anxious conversation with the ethereal veil-touched beings of pure energy contained within shimmering force fields. The serpentine naga coiled around their floating platforms, while the bird-like aquilon preened their magnificent feathers with barely concealed agitation. At the center of this cosmic assembly sat the High Arbiter HFY, an ancient being whose species had transcended physical form eons ago. Its consciousness manifested as a swirling vortex of silver and gold light, pulsing with the weight of decisions that affected trillions of lives across thousands of worlds. The great dragon stirs. Zek's HI voice resonated through quantum fields directly into the minds of every delegate present. Xerion grows restless in its eternal slumber. The tribute cycle approaches. A collective shiver ran through the assembly. Every species present had heard the legends, though few had lived through the last awakening 300 years ago. The great dragon of Xerion was not merely a creature, it was a force of cosmic destruction that predated most known civilizations. When it stirred, entire star systems could be reduced to cosmic dust by its mere displeasure. Counselor Thek Van of the Kytherian hive mind spoke first, his translator converting the complex pheromone chemical language into universal standard. The traditional offering maintains galactic stability. We cannot risk the dragon's wrath by breaking millennia of precedent. Agreed, hissed Counselor Sarathi of the Naga Coalition, her forked tongue tasting the fear chemicals in the recycled atmosphere. The sacrifice has always been willing. A noble soul who understands the greater good. Usually one of our own warrior caste volunteers for the honor. The Aquilon representative, Wing Commander Aristel, ruffled her golden feathers in disagreement. The last 3 sacrifices came from our aerial nobility. Perhaps it's time another species provided the tribute. No one wanted their people selected for the dragon's hunger, but all understood the necessity. The great dragon's appetite wasn't merely for flesh. It consumed the life force, the very essence of sapient beings. Only a thinking, feeling creature could satisfy its cosmic hunger. What about the humans? The suggestion came from an unexpected source, Counselor Velnar of the Ethereal Collective. Beings who rarely spoke during council sessions. Silence fell across the chamber like a suffocating blanket. High Arbiter HFY's form pulsed thoughtfully. The humans, yes, they breed rapidly, recover quickly from losses. Their society is decentralized enough that losing one individual wouldn't destabilize their entire species structure. They're also completely inferior, added Thek Van with dismissive certainty. No psychic abilities, limited technological advancement, short lifespans. If we must lose a sapient being, better to lose one that contributes little to galactic civilization. The assembled delegates began nodding, clicking, hissing, and chirping their agreement. Humans were useful as laborers, soldiers, and basic technicians, but they had never produced great philosophers, powerful warriors, or influential leaders. They were, in the grand scheme of galactic politics, utterly replaceable. Motion to designate a human sacrifice for the great dragon's tribute, announced HFY formally. All in favor? The vote was unanimous. 3 systems away, in the outer mining colonies of the Terran Administrative Zone, Sarah Chen was helping her 7-year-old daughter Maya practice reading when the enforcement ships appeared in their sky. "Mommy, what are those?" Maya pointed through the viewport of their modest habitat dome, her dark eyes wide with curiosity rather than fear. The child had been born in space, raised on mining platforms and trading stations. The strange ships were part of daily life. Sarah felt ice form in her veins as she recognized the sleek, predatory design of Council enforcement vessels. "Just some visitors, sweetheart. It's reading your story." But Maya was already distracted, pressing her small face against the transparent aluminum. "They're so pretty, like silver birds." The ships were beautiful, Sarah had to admit. Elegant curves of metal and energy that moved through space like living creatures. She'd always found it ironic that the most gorgeous vessels in the galaxy belonged to the species that viewed humans as barely above livestock. The communication array crackled to life, filling their small habitat with the harmonic tones that indicated an official Council transmission Gamma 1847, prepared to receive official representatives. "This is a matter of galactic importance." Sarah pulled Maya closer, her engineer's mind already calculating escape routes. But there were none. Their mining platform was isolated, weeks from the nearest major trade route. No rescue would come. Within an hour, their habitat's airlock cycled open, and 3 figures entered. The lead representative was humanoid, but clearly not human, too tall, too elegant, with skin that shifted between silver and blue depending on the angle of light. Behind it followed 2 enforcement officers in full combat armor, their species hidden behind featureless helmets. "Greetings," the lead figure said in perfect, unaccented standard English. "I am Ambassador Zithron of the Council's Human Affairs Department. We have come on a mission of great honor." "Honor?" Sarah stood slowly, keeping Maya behind her. "What kind of honor involves armed guards?" Zithron's expression remained pleasantly neutral. "Your species has been chosen to provide the tribute for the great dragon of Zarian. This is a tremendous privilege, to have one of your people serve the greater good of galactic civilization." Sarah's blood turned to liquid nitrogen. She'd heard stories, whispered tales from deep space traders about the dragon and its appetite. "You want to sacrifice a human." "Not just any human," Zithron corrected smoothly. "We require a child. The dragon prefers younger offerings. Their life force burns brighter, lasts longer. Your daughter has been selected based on optimal parameters." The world seemed to stop. Sarah could hear her own heartbeat thundering in her ears, could feel Maya's small hand gripping her shirt. "No." "I'm afraid this isn't a negotiation," Zithron replied. "The decision has been made by the full council. The tribute must be delivered within 48 standard hours, or the dragon will emerge from its slumber and choose its own compensation. Entire systems could be destroyed." "Then let them be destroyed," Sarah snarled, surprising herself with the venom in her voice. "You're not taking my daughter." One of the armored guards stepped forward, weapon partially raised. "Compliance is not optional." Maya peeked out from behind her mother, studying the strange visitors with the fearless curiosity that only children possessed. "Mommy, what's a dragon?" Sarah knelt down, taking her daughter's small hands in her own. "Dragons are make-believe, sweetie. Just stories." "But they said, they're lying," Sarah said firmly, loud enough for the aliens to hear. "There are no dragons." Zithron sighed with what might have been genuine regret. "I understand your maternal instincts. However, You must consider the greater good. One life versus trillions, it's simple mathematics. My daughter isn't a math problem. Sarah stood, placing herself squarely between Maya and the aliens. She's 7 years old. She likes stories about brave princesses and rainbow horses. She's learning to read. She makes me drawings of flowers that don't exist anywhere but in her imagination. You want to feed that to your monster? The dragon is not our monster, Zithran replied. It is a cosmic force beyond any of our control. We simply acknowledge its power and pay the required price for peace. Dad, cowards! Sarah's voice was quiet now, but something in her tone made both guards shift nervously. You're all cowards, 1,000 species, and you're all so terrified of one creature that you'd murder a child to appease it. We understand this is difficult, Zithron began, but Sarah cut him off. Do you have children, Ambassador? Any of you? The alien paused, clearly taken aback by the question. My species reproduces through collective spawning. Individual offspring attachment is inefficient. That explains a lot. Sarah felt something cold and hard settling in her chest. You don't understand what you're asking because you don't understand what you'd be destroying. Nevertheless, the tribute must be collected. If you resist, the child will still be taken, but your cooperation would make the process less traumatic for everyone involved. Maya tugged on her mother's shirt. Mommy, I'm scared. Brown eyes, inherited from her father who died in a mining accident 3 years ago, eyes full of trust and love and innocent confusion about why these strangers wanted to hurt her. It's okay, baby. Mommy won't let anything happen to you. She stood and faced Zithron again. How long do we have? The transport will arrive in 36 hours. I suggest you use the time to prepare the child psychologically. Perhaps explain it as an adventure, Sarah repeated flatly. You want me to lie to my 7-year-old daughter about why she's going to be murdered? The dragon's consumption is quite painless, according to our records. She would simply, Daddy, sleep. Get out. Excuse me? You've delivered your message. Now get off my station before I do something we'll both regret. Zithron studied her for a moment, his alien features unreadable. Very well, but understand, resistance will only increase suffering. Accept the inevitable, and your daughter's final hours can be peaceful. The 3 aliens departed, leaving Sarah and Maya alone in their habitat. For long moments, neither spoke. Maya finally broke the silence. Mommy, they want to hurt me, don't they? Sarah's careful composure cracked. She gathered her daughter in her arms, holding her close. I won't let them, baby. I promise. But they're bigger than us, and they have scary ships. Size isn't everything, sweetheart. Sometimes the smallest things can surprise you. As night fell over their small section of the galaxy, Sarah tucked Maya into bed with extra care, reading 3 stories instead of 1 and singing the ancient lullaby her own mother had sung to her decades ago on Earth. When her daughter finally slept, Sarah sat at her computer terminal. She sent the same message to every human colony, mining station, trading post, and transport ship in their sector. Then she sent it to the neighboring sectors. Then to every human settlement her communication array could reach across dozens of star systems. The message was simple. They're coming for our children. The council thinks we'll roll over and let them take what they want because we're weak and expendable. They're about to learn differently. My daughter Maya Chen, age 7, has been selected as a sacrifice to something called the Great Dragon of Zarian. If they can take her, they can take any of our children. This ends now. Sarah Chen, Platform Gamma, or 7 Outer Mining Territories. Within hours, responses began flooding in, not just from the local colonies, but from human settlements scattered across known space. Mining crews, transport captains, colonial administrators, deep space explorers, even the human workers on multi-species stations in the galactic core. The aliens had made one crucial miscalculation. They assumed humans were isolated, disconnected, without the sophisticated communication networks that linked other species. They didn't understand that humans had been talking to each other across impossible distances since before they'd left their homeworld. They didn't know that human parents would cross galaxies to protect someone else's child. By dawn, Sarah's communication array was overloaded with incoming signals. Ships were already changing course, heading toward their remote platform. The fastest vessels would arrive within 12 hours, well before the Council's transport was scheduled to collect Maya. Sarah watched her daughter sleep and smiled for the first time since the aliens had arrived. "You're right, sweetheart. Sometimes the scariest-looking things turn out to be make-believe." In the crystal chambers of the Galactic Council, automated monitoring systems began registering massive shifts in human ship movements across hundreds of star systems. The AI algorithms tagged it as unusual but not alarming. Humans were always moving around after all. They were nomadic by nature, unstable and unpredictable. The Council had no idea they'd just declared war on a species that had only been waiting for a reason to fight back. And that, in 36 hours, they would discover exactly why humans had survived and thrived in a galaxy that considered them inferior. Captain Marcus Rivera hadn't slept in 37 hours, but exhaustion was the furthest thing from his mind as he stood on the bridge of the cargo hauler New Harmony, watching the tactical display with growing amazement. What had started as a distress call from a mining platform had become something unprecedented in human history. "Captain," his navigator, Lieutenant Chen Wei, called out from her station, "3 more ships just dropped out of hyperspace. That makes 47 vessels now." Marcus looked through the main viewport at the impossible sights surrounding them. Ships hung in space like a metal constellation. Cargo haulers, mining vessels, passenger transports, exploration scouts, even a few military patrol craft. All human, all converging on one small mining platform where a 7-year-old girl named Maya Chen was scheduled to be collected by the Galactic Council in less than 6 hours. "Sir," his communications officer, Lieutenant Torres, spoke up, "this one's coming from the Galactic Core? Put it through!" The main screen flickered to life, revealing the weathered face of a man in his 60s wearing the uniform of a human colonial administrator. Behind him, Marcus could see the distinctive architecture of a core world space station. "This is Administrator Zhao Wei of Kepler Station. We've received word about the Council's demands regarding the Chen child. I'm transmitting the current positions of 17 Council enforcement vessels in our sector. Military attaché suggests these could be vulnerable to coordinated civilian interference." The transmission ended, replaced by detailed tactical data that made Marcus whistle low. Core world humans weren't supposed to interfere with Council operations. The fact that they were not only interfering but providing military intelligence meant this situation had escalated far beyond what anyone had anticipated. "Captain," Chen Wei said quietly, "my grandmother used to tell stories about the old days on Earth. Before we joined the galactic community, she said when someone threatened a human child, the entire tribe would respond. Didn't matter if they knew the family or not. An attack on one child was an attack on all children." Marcus nodded, understanding flooding through him. "It's not just about Maya Chan anymore, is it? It's about what happens next. If the Council can take her, they can take anyone's children." "Incoming transmission from the mining platform," Torres reported. "It's Sarah Chen." On screen, the woman who appeared looked like she'd been through hell. Dark circles under her eyes, hair disheveled, but her gaze was steady and determined. Behind her, Marcus could see a small girl playing with blocks, blissfully unaware of the cosmic crisis surrounding her. "To everyone who came," Sarah began, her voice thick with emotion, I don't know what to say. When I sent that message, I hoped maybe a few nearby ships might help. I never expected—" "How many ships are we at now?" Marcus called to his navigator. 53 and counting, sir. Long-range sensors show at least 12 more en route." Sarah's eyes widened. 53 ships? For my daughter? For all our daughters? Marcus replied. What's your tactical situation down there? 3 council enforcement officers planet-side. They've taken up positions around our habitat dome. Their ship is maintaining orbit. They seem confused by all the arrivals. Keep demanding to speak with whoever's in charge. Marcus exchanged glances with his crew. Ma'am, with respect, who is in charge here? Sarah was quiet for a moment. I think we are. All of us. Every human who decided that enough is enough. Before Marcus could respond, his sensor operator called out urgently. Captain, hyperspace emergence detected. Large vessel, configuration unknown. Oh hell. Through the viewport, space rippled like disturbed water, and from the distortion emerged a ship that dwarfed everything around it. The vessel was a kilometer long, its hull covered in the ritual scarification that marked it as belonging to the Kytherian hive mind. This wasn't an enforcement ship. This was a war cruiser. This is Battle Sister Thekman of the hive ship Eternal Purpose, came the transmission, the artificial voice flat and menacing. By order of the Galactic Council, you will disperse immediately. Any interference with the tribute collection will be considered an act of rebellion against galactic law. Marcus felt his heart hammering, but when he spoke, his voice was steady. This is Captain Rivera of the merchant vessel New Harmony. We're conducting peaceful assembly in neutral space. No laws are being broken. Your presence here constitutes interference with Council operations. Disperse now or face the consequences. Around him, Marcus could hear similar conversations happening across the fleet as other captains responded to the Kytherian demands. But instead of dispersing, more ships kept arriving. The humans were calling the Council's bluff. Captain, his sensor operator said urgently, I'm reading massive energy buildup in the alien ship's weapon systems. On the main screen, Sarah Chen had gone pale. They're really going to fight? Over my daughter? Marcus looked at the tactical display showing 53 human ships facing down a Kytherian battle cruiser designed to destroy entire fleets. By every measure of military logic, this was suicide. The aliens had superior technology, better weapons, stronger shields. They should run. Instead, he found himself thinking of his own daughter, safe in a colonial school 3 systems away, of Chen Wei's nephew who just started walking, of all the human children scattered across the galaxy who might be next if the Council learned they could take anyone they wanted without consequences. Ma'am, he said to Sarah, I want you to take your daughter and get to the most secure part of your facility. Things are about to get interesting. Before she could respond, a new voice cut through the communications channels. Calm, professional, and speaking with an accent that made every human on the frequency sit up straight. This is Admiral Catherine Shaw. All civilian vessels, please adjust your positions according to the tactical package I'm transmitting. We have incoming Council reinforcements, and I'd prefer to keep you all alive. Marcus felt his jaw drop. The UEF United Earth Federation was the closest thing humans had to a military organization, but they operated under strict Council oversight. Their ships weren't supposed to engage Council forces except in the most extreme circumstances. Admiral, came Thekman's increasingly agitated transmission, you are exceeding your authority. With trust, Teddy, stand down immediately. Shaw's reply was glacially calm. Battle Sister, I am responding to a request for assistance from human civilians in neutral space. As per Section 15 of the Galactic Defense Accord, I am authorized to provide protection for endangered non-combatants. The humans are interfering with lawful Council operations. What I see, Shaw replied, is an alien military vessel threatening civilian ships in neutral territory. Care to explain your legal authority for that threat? Through the tactical display, Marcus watched 3 sleek UEF destroyers drop out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming silver and blue. They were beautiful ships, built for speed and precision rather than brute force. Against the massive Cytherian cruiser, they looked like minnows facing a shark. But they moved with a coordination that spoke of countless hours of training, taking positions that maximized their advantages while minimizing their exposure to the alien ship's heavy weapons. "This is unacceptable," Thekman transmitted. "We are operating under direct council authority. The tribute must be collected." "What tribute?" Shaw's voice had gone dangerously quiet. There was a long pause before the Cytherian responded. "The sacrifice for the great dragon of Zarian, one human child, as approved by the full Galactic Council." The silence that followed seemed to stretch across space itself. When Shaw spoke again, her words carried the weight of centuries of human fury finally given voice. "Battle Sister Thekman, you just admitted to attempting the kidnapping and murder of a human child under color of galactic law. As a representative of Earth and all human colonies, I formally protest this action and demand immediate withdrawal of all Council forces from this system." "You cannot stop us, Admiral. We have legal authority." "Legal?" Shaw's laugh was bitter. "You want to discuss legal? Let me remind you of something you might have forgotten. When humanity joined the Galactic Council, we agreed to certain restrictions on our military capabilities. But those restrictions were contingent on the Council's protection of human civilians. The moment you decided to murder one of our children, that compact was broken." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Around him, his crew was staring at the tactical display where more ships were arriving, not just civilian vessels now, but military craft from across human space, ships that hadn't moved together in formation for over a century. "Admiral Shaw," he transmitted on an open channel, "this is Captain Rivera of the Merchant Marine. What are your intentions?" Shaw's response was broadcast to every human ship in the system. "Captain, my intentions are simple. Maya Chen is going home to her mother tonight. Anyone who has a problem with that can discuss it with me personally." On the mining platform below, Sarah Chen was watching the display with tears streaming down her face. Her daughter had joined her at the view screen, staring up at the impossible sight of dozens of ships that had come just to protect her. "Mommy, are those the good guys?" Maya asked in her small, clear voice. "Yes, sweetheart, those are the good guys. Are they going to fight the scary ships?" Sarah looked at the tactical display where more Council vessels were dropping out of hyperspace, ships from a dozen different species, all converging on their small corner of space. The aliens had overwhelming firepower and superior technology, but they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd threatened a human child in front of the entire human fleet. I think they are, baby. And I think the scary ships are about to learn something very important about humans. "What's that, Mommy?" Sarah pulled her daughter close, watching as Admiral Shaw's ships moved into attack formation. "That we don't abandon our children, ever." Above them, the first shots of what would later be called the Children's War began to light up the darkness between the stars. The Council had wanted a sacrifice to feed their dragon. Instead, they were about to discover that humans had dragons of their own, and theirs were very, very angry. The battle for Maya Chen lasted exactly 17 minutes and changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Admiral Catherine Shaw watched from the bridge of her flagship Rising Dawn as the last Council enforcement vessel limped away into hyperspace, its hull scarred by weapons fire and its crew presumably reconsidering their life choices. Around her, the tactical display showed the aftermath of what military historians would later call the most decisive small-scale engagement in recorded galactic history. 57 human civilian ships and 3 UF destroyers had faced down a Cytherian battlecruiser, 2 Naga dreadnoughts, an Aquilon carrier wing, and 6 assorted Council enforcement vessels. By every tactical simulation, the humans should have been obliterated within minutes. Instead, the Council fleet had retreated after losing 3 ships and having their remaining vessels suffer catastrophic damage. "Ma'am," her tactical officer reported, "the mining platform is secure. No casualties among the civilian fleet, minimal damage to our ships. Shaw nodded, but her expression remained grim. And the council forces? Scattered. They're regrouping at the edge of the system, but they're not advancing. Intelligence suggests they're waiting for reinforcements. Shaw studied the long-range sensors. The council wouldn't let this stand. They couldn't. If word spread that humans could successfully resist council authority, every other subjugated species would start getting ideas. This had been a victory, but it was only the beginning. Admiral, her communications officer, called out, "Priority transmission from the Galactic Council chambers. It's High Arbiter Zexay himself." On screen. The view screen filled with the swirling vortex of silver and gold light that represented one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. When Zexay spoke, its voice carried harmonics that made reality itself seem to vibrate. "Admiral Shaw, you have interfered with a lawful council operation and committed acts of war against multiple member species. Explain yourself." Shaw stood straighter, very aware that this conversation was being transmitted to every ship in the system. "High Arbiter, I acted to protect human civilians from an unlawful attempt at kidnapping and murder. It is a necessary sacrifice to maintain galactic stability. Your species agreed to abide by council decisions when you joined our civilization. We agreed to abide by laws that applied equally to all species. We did not agree to have our children murdered because you're afraid of a cosmic bedtime story." The harmonics in Zexay's voice shifted, becoming deeper and more ominous. "With trust, Teddy. The dragon is no story, Admiral. It is older than your species, more powerful than your fleets, and infinitely more dangerous than you can comprehend. The tribute prevents its awakening. Your interference has doomed billions." Shaw felt ice in her veins, but her voice remained steady. "Then, wake it up." Silence fell across every communication channel in the system. Shaw could see her own crew staring at her in shock, could imagine the reactions on ships throughout the fleet. She'd just told the Galactic Council to release the most dangerous entity in known space. "You do not understand what you are saying," Zexay finally responded. "I understand perfectly," Shaw replied. "You've spent so long being terrified of this creature that you've forgotten something important. But humans don't negotiate with monsters. We kill them." Admiral Shaw, came a new voice. Sarah Chen, transmitting from the mining platform below. "With respect, ma'am, are you insane? You're talking about fighting something that could destroy star systems." Shaw looked down at the tactical display, seeing the cluster of human ships that had risked everything to protect one child. "Sarah, let me ask you something. If someone told you that to protect Maya, you'd have to sacrifice someone else's child, would you do it?" "Never. That's the difference between us and them." They see the dragon as an acceptable threat as long as someone else pays the price. We see it as a problem that needs to be solved. High Arbiter Zexay's form pulsed with what might have been anger. "Your arrogance is astounding. The dragon has slumbered for 3 centuries. Its awakening will bring destruction beyond your comprehension." "Then bring it," Shaw said simply. "But understand this. If you wake your monster to punish humans for protecting their children, every human in the galaxy will know what you are. Every species will know what you are. You'll have revealed that the mighty Galactic Council is so weak, so cowardly, that you'd rather murder children than face your problems directly. The tribute system has maintained peace for millennia. The tribute system has maintained your power for millennia," Shaw corrected. "There's a difference." On the mining platform, Maya Chen had been listening to the conversation with the intense focus that only 7-year-olds could bring to adult discussions they didn't fully understand. "Mommy," she said quietly, "what's a tribute?" Sarah knelt down beside her daughter, struggling to find age-appropriate words for cosmic horror. "It's when bad people hurt good people to make themselves feel safer. If someone's scary, you should make them not scary anymore. You don't hurt other people. Sarah felt her heart break and swell with pride at the same time. That's right, sweetheart. That's exactly right. Above them, the standoff continued. More council ships were arriving every hour, but so were human vessels. What had started as a desperate rescue mission was becoming the largest gathering of human ships in galactic history. Admiral, Zexai said finally, you leave us no choice. The tribute must be collected, or the dragon will wake. If you will not surrender the child voluntarily, we will take her by force. Shaw smiled, and there was something predatory in her expression. High Arbiter, I need you to understand something about humans. We're not particularly advanced by galactic standards. We don't have psychic powers or energy manipulation abilities. We can't phase through solid matter or communicate across space with our minds. With trust, Teddy? Your point? Our point is that we're still here. Every other species in the galaxy has some special ability that helped them survive and thrive. All we have is each other. Do you know what that means? Zexus High didn't respond. It means we've gotten very, very good at killing things that are bigger and more powerful than we are. It's literally the only thing we know how to do. Shaw gestured to her tactical officer, who began transmitting a data package to every ship in the system, human and alien alike. That's our species' complete military history, High Arbiter. Every war, every battle, every time we face something bigger and stronger and more advanced than we were. Take a look at the outcomes. As the data spread through the fleet, Shaw could see alien ships beginning to adjust their positions. The tactical information painted a clear picture. Humans had never in their entire recorded history backed down from a fight they believed was necessary to protect their own. You see, Shaw continued, you made a fundamental error in judgment. You assumed that because we're weak individually, we'd be easy to intimidate collectively. But humans don't work that way. The more you threaten us, the more dangerous we become. Empty threats will not. Zex High began, but Shaw cut him off. I, Arbiter, in 30 seconds, I'm going to order every human ship in this system to open fire on your vessels. Not because I want a war, but because you forced me to choose between a war and allowing you to murder a child. That's not really a choice at all. You cannot hope to defeat us. You're probably right. But here's what will happen when you destroy this fleet. Every human colony, every human ship, every human settlement in the galaxy will learn that the Council murdered dozens of human crews to kidnap one 7-year-old girl. And then they'll ask themselves a very important question. Shaw paused, letting the weight of her words settle across the communication channels. They'll ask, if the Council is willing to kill this many humans to take one child, how many more will they kill to take another? How long before every human child is considered acceptable tribute? Admiral Shaw, came a new voice. Captain Rivera from the New Harmony. Speaking for the civilian fleet, we're with you. Confirmed, came dozens of voices from ships throughout the system. Standing by for your orders, Admiral. Shaw looked at the tactical display, seeing human ships moving into attack formation with the precision of a military fleet despite most of them being civilian vessels. They weren't trained for this kind of operation, but they were united by something stronger than training. High Arbiter, she said quietly, you have 20 seconds to withdraw your forces. With trust, Teddy. After that, we start shooting. You are forcing us to wake the dragon. Zexa High's voice carried harmonics of genuine desperation now. No, Shaw replied. You're choosing to wake the dragon rather than admit you were wrong about humans. There's a difference. 10 seconds. Shaw could see the Council ships beginning to charge their weapons. Around her, her crew was running final combat checks with the calm efficiency of professionals who knew they might not survive the next few minutes. 5 seconds. The alien ships were moving into firing positions. 3 seconds. Shaw raised her hand to give the attack order. 1 second, a new alarm began screaming through every ship in the system, human and alien alike. Admiral, her sensor operator shouted over the alarms. Massive spatial distortion detected. Something's tearing through hyperspace. It's enormous. Shaw's hand stopped mid-gesture as space itself began to writhe and twist at the edge of the system. Whatever was coming through was so large that its emergence was affecting the fabric of reality across several light minutes. "High Arbiter," she said quietly, "please tell me you didn't just wake up your dragon to prove a point." It has been 300 years since the last tribute. The dragon has grown impatient. The spatial distortion exploded outward like a nova, and from the tear in reality emerged something that made every ship in the system seem like a child's toy. The great dragon of Xerion was not a creature in any conventional sense. It was a living piece of cosmic architecture, an entity whose body was composed of dark matter and whose eyes were burning quasars. When it spoke, its voice was the sound of stars dying. "Where is my tribute?" Shaw stared at the impossibility filling her view screen and felt the same calm settle over her that had carried her through every battle of her career. The dragon was terrifying. Yes, it was powerful beyond measurement, ancient beyond comprehension, and angry beyond reason. It was also the thing that had been forcing the galaxy to murder children for millennia. "All ships," she said quietly, "prepare for combat operations." "Target the dragon." "Admiral," her tactical officer said in a strangled voice, "our weapons won't even scratch something that size." Shaw smiled. "Lieutenant, there's something you need to understand about humans. We've been killing gods since before we learned to walk upright. This is just another Tuesday." Behind her, she could hear Maya Chen's voice coming through the open channel from the mining platform below. "Mommy, is that the monster that wants to hurt me?" "Yes, sweetheart, it's really big." "Yes, it is. But the good guys are going to fight it anyway," Shaw answered before Sarah could. "Yes, Maya, the good guys are going to fight it. Because that's what good guys do." The dragon's attention turned toward the mining platform, its quasar eyes focusing on the small life force it had come to claim. Around the system, Council ships were already beginning to retreat, abandoning their positions in the face of their awakened god. But the human ships held position. "This should be interesting," Shaw murmured and gave the order to attack. The first human weapon to strike the great dragon of Xerion was a mining laser from the cargo hauler Prosperity, retrofitted with military-grade focusing crystals by a crew that had spent their lives carving metal from asteroids. The beam struck the entity's flank and scattered like light hitting a mirror, but something impossible happened in that moment of contact. The dragon noticed. For eons beyond counting, the cosmic entity had faced tribute bearers who approached with terror and reverence, offering their sacrifices with trembling hands and prayers for mercy. Never in its ancient memory had anything been foolish enough to attack it. "What?" "Gods." Admiral Shaw watched the tactical display as 57 human ships opened fire simultaneously. Energy weapons, kinetic rounds, mining equipment repurposed as weapons, even emergency flares. The attacks were having no visible effect on the dragon itself. But Shaw wasn't watching the target. She was watching the entity's behavior, the way it moved, the pattern of its responses. In her decades of military service, she'd learned that everything could be killed if you understood how it worked. "Admiral!" her sensor officer called out. "The dragon's energy output is fluctuating. Whatever we're doing, it's..." "Confused?" Shaw nodded grimly. "It's never been attacked before. It doesn't know how to respond to something that isn't afraid of it." "But our weapons aren't penetrating its defenses," her tactical officer protested. "We might as well be throwing rocks at a star, Lieutenant," Shaw said quietly. "Sometimes throwing rocks at a star is exactly what you need to do. Keep firing." On the mining platform below, Sarah Chen was holding Maya close as they watched the impossible battle unfolding above them. The small girl was surprisingly calm, her 7-year-old mind processing the cosmic conflict with the adaptability that only children possessed. "Mommy, why is the big scary thing so angry?" Maya asked. "Because no one's ever told it no before, sweetheart." "That's silly." Everyone gets told no sometimes. That's how you learn to be good." Sarah stared at her daughter, struck by the simple wisdom in those words. Around them, the habitat dome shook as cosmic energies washed over the mining platform. The dragon was moving closer, drawn by the life force it had come to claim, but distracted by the unprecedented aggression of the human fleet. Above them, the battle was taking an unexpected turn. The dragon's confusion was growing into something that might have been frustration. Its massive form writhed through space as it tried to simultaneously swat at the attacking ships while reaching for the mining platform. See, your futile. TRSLS. The entity commanded, "Give me the child, and your deaths will be swift." Shaw's response was broadcast to every ship in the system. Counteroffer: "Go back to sleep, and we'll pretend this never happened." The dragon's reply was a wave of cosmic energy that should have vaporized every human ship in the system. Instead, something remarkable happened. At the moment the death wave reached the fleet, 57 human ships activated their emergency transponders simultaneously. The same transponders used to signal distress across interstellar distances. The combined signal created a resonance cascade that interfered with the dragon's energy output, dispersing its attack into harmless radiation. It wasn't intentional. Shaw's crew had activated the transponders as a desperate last resort, but the effect was unmistakable. "Admiral," her communications officer said in amazement, "the transponder resonance is disrupting its energy matrix. It's actually hurting the thing." Shaw felt a fierce grin spread across her face. "All ships synchronize your emergency transponders to the command frequency. Maximum power output." "Ma'am, that'll drain our power cores," her engineer protested. "Then we'd better make it count. Helm, take us in closer. All ships, follow my lead." The human fleet began moving toward the dragon in a loose formation, their transponders creating a web of intersecting signals that made space itself ring like a bell. The cosmic entity recoiled as if stung, its massive form convulsing as the harmonic interference disrupted its energy patterns. "Impossible," the dragon raged. "Mortals cannot harm the eternal." "You'd be surprised what mortals can do when you threaten their children," Shaw replied grimly. But even as the fleet pressed their attack, more problems were emerging. Long-range sensors showed massive Council reinforcements approaching, entire battle fleets from across the galaxy, responding to the crisis. They would arrive within hours, and when they did, they would face a choice: side with the humans against their ancient god, or help the dragon claim its tribute. Shaw suspected she knew which option they'd choose. "Admiral," came a transmission from Captain Rivera, "our power cores are at 60% and dropping. We can't maintain this resonance pattern much longer." Shaw studied the tactical display. The dragon was wounded but far from defeated. It was adapting to their attacks, learning to compensate for the harmonic interference. Soon, their advantage would be gone. That's when Maya Chen did something that changed everything. The 7-year-old girl had been listening to the adult conversations with the focused intensity that children brought to things they knew were important. She'd heard the aliens say they needed her life force. She'd heard her mother and the ship captains talking about sacrifice and tribute. She'd watched the great monster demand her surrender, and she'd made a decision. Breaking away from her mother's protective embrace, Maya ran to the communication console and activated the general broadcast channel. "Hello, big scary monster," she said in her clear, high voice. "I'm Maya. I'm the one you want." Across the system, every ship fell silent. The dragon's massive form stopped writhing as its attention focused on the small voice coming from the mining platform. "Maya, no!" Sarah screamed, lunging for the console, but her daughter stepped back, her small face set with determination. "You want to eat me because you're hungry and angry and everyone's always afraid of you," Maya continued. "But I'm not afraid. I'm sad for you. The dragon's quasar eyes turned toward the mining platform with the intensity of collapsing stars. Chilled. Comes to meet DSTE. I don't have a destiny, Maya said firmly. I have a choice. And I choose to ask you a question. Shaw found herself holding her breath along with every other human in the system. What could a 7-year-old possibly say to a cosmic horror that had terrified the galaxy for millennia? Shh! Speak before I consume, before I consume, before you. Maya took a deep breath, the way she did before reciting poems in school. When you eat people, do you remember them? Do you know their names and their favorite colors and what makes them laugh? The dragon's response carried harmonics of confusion. I consume, essence, devour, life, force. But do you remember them? Maya persisted. Because if you eat me, you should know that my favorite color is purple. I like stories about brave princesses, and I'm learning to read big girl books. My mommy sings me songs about Earth, even though I've never been there. And I draw pictures of flowers that don't exist, because I think the universe needs more beauty. Silence fell across the cosmos. The dragon's massive form had gone completely still, its quasar eyes fixed on the small figure standing in the mining platform's observation dome. Never, the entity said slowly, has tribute spoken, T.O., me. That's because they were too scared, Maya said gently. But I think you're just lonely. You sleep all the time, and when you wake up, everyone just gives you food and runs away. Nobody ever talks to you. Shaw watched in amazement as something unprecedented happened. The dragon's energy output was shifting, its cosmic fury diminishing, as it focused entirely on the conversation with Maya Chen. Lonely? The concept seemed to confuse the entity. The eternal I am power, AM. Eternal means forever, right? Maya asked. That sounds really lonely. Forever is a really long time to be by yourself. Sleep, too. Pass. The eon? But you don't have to sleep alone, Maya said. You could have friends. You could learn about all the people in the galaxy instead of eating them. You could see the pretty things they make and hear their stories. Shaw felt her jaw drop. The 7-year-old was trying to negotiate with a cosmic horror, not for her life, for friendship. Friends? The dragon's voice carried harmonic Shaw had never heard before, something that might have been wonder. Mortals, would-be friend. The eternal? I would, Maya said without hesitation. If you promise not to eat people anymore. Eating people is wrong, even if you're really big and powerful. The dragon was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice was quieter, more thoughtful. The council feeds me to prevent my wrath. The council is scared of you, so they hurt innocent people to make you go away, Maya said. That's not friendship. That's bullying. Shaw found herself leaning forward, fascinated by the conversation. The child was accomplishing something that millennia of galactic diplomacy had failed to achieve. She was making the dragon think. But if you had real friends, Maya continued, you wouldn't need to be angry anymore. You could protect people instead of hurting them. You could use your power to help instead of making everyone afraid. Help? The concept seemed foreign to the entity. Like the nice ship captains who came to protect me, Maya explained. They're big and strong, but they use their strength to keep children safe. That's what heroes do. The dragon's massive form shifted, its attention turning to the human fleet that still surrounded it. Shaw held her breath as quasar eyes studied her ships with newfound interest. These mortals attacked me to protect one child, because that's what good people do. Maya said proudly. They don't let bullies hurt kids, even when the bullies are really scary. Shaw watched as the dragon's energy patterns continued to shift. Something was happening to the cosmic entity, something that had never happened in its eons of existence. It was learning what it meant to be more than just a force of destruction. Chilled, the dragon said finally. You offer friendship instead of fear. Friendship is better than fear, Maya said simply. Friendship makes everyone stronger. The dragon considered this, its massive intellect processing concepts it had never encountered. Then, slowly, its voice changed. The cosmic harmonics softened, becoming less alien, more comprehensible to mortal minds. I have been alone for so long, it said, and for the first time it sounded less like a force of nature and more like a being capable of emotion. The council has fed me tribute for millennia, but never has anyone offered to know me. Shaw felt tears on her cheeks as she watched a 7-year-old girl accomplish what the entire Galactic Council had never attempted, treating the dragon like a person instead of a monster. What's your real name? Maya asked. Dragon is just what other people call you. But what do you call yourself? The entity was quiet for so long that Shaw wondered if it even remembered. Finally, in a voice filled with eons of loneliness, it answered, I was, Zirion, guardian of the first stars, protector of the cosmic dawn. But that was so long ago, before the council, before the fear, before I became this. Hi, Zarian, Maya said with the easy acceptance of childhood. I'm Maya Chen. Would you like to be friends? And in that moment, everything changed. The transformation of Zarian took 3 hours and reshaped the political structure of the galaxy forever. Admiral Shaw watched from her bridge as the cosmic entity began to change, its massive form of dark matter and stellar fire slowly condensing into something more comprehensible. The process was beautiful and terrifying, like watching a living constellation reshape itself into a more mortal form. Admiral, her communications officer reported, we're receiving frantic transmissions from council vessels across the system. They're requesting permission to retreat. Shaw almost laughed. The same alien fleets that had come to collect a 7-year-old sacrifice were now asking permission to leave because their own god was having a conversation with the child they'd planned to murder. Tell them they're free to go, Shaw replied. But let them know that if they ever threaten a human child again, they'll have to answer to both us and Zirion. Through the main view screen, she could see the dragon, now calling himself by his true name again, continuing his metamorphosis. The quasar eyes had dimmed to a warm golden glow, and his voice had lost the cosmic harmonics that made reality tremble. Maya, Zirion's voice was still vast but no longer terrifying. I am beginning to remember what I was before the fear consumed me. I was not always alone. Once I had purpose. From the mining platform, Maya's small voice carried clearly across the communication channels. What kind of purpose? Guided them through the darkness between stars, helped them grow and learn and become more than they were. But as they grew, they began to fear my power. They built weapons against me, formed alliances to contain me. And slowly, I became what they believed me to be. A monster! Shaw felt a chill of recognition. The story was familiar to anyone who studied human history. How often had humans turned their protectors into enemies through fear and misunderstanding? That's sad, Maya said with the simple empathy of childhood. But you don't have to be what other people think you are. You can choose to be something better. Can I? Zirion asked. And Shaw heard centuries of loneliness in that question. Can one who has consumed so many lives, caused so much fear, truly change? My mommy says that's what makes people special. We can't always choose to be better than we were yesterday. On the tactical display, Shaw watched as the last of the council enforcement vessels fled the system. They left behind their god, their tribute system, and their certainty that some beings were too powerful to oppose. Admiral Shaw, came a transmission from Captain Rivera. What's our status? Are we still at war with the galaxy? Shaw considered the question. Technically, they had just defeated the Galactic Council's primary enforcement mechanism and convinced their ancient god to switch sides. The political implications were staggering. Captain, she replied, I think we just ended one war and started something much more interesting. She was right. Within hours, word of the confrontation began spreading across human space. But the story that spread wasn't about the battle. It was about Maya Chen, the 7-year-old girl who had befriended a cosmic horror and convinced it to choose redemption over revenge. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Human colonies that had submitted to Council authority for centuries began declaring independence. Human crews on alien vessels abandoned their posts and commandeered ships to return to human space. Human settlements on mixed-species worlds began demanding equal representation in local governments. But most importantly, other species began asking questions about the council that ruled them. Admiral, her communications officer called out, priority transmission from Earth. It's the Secretary General himself. Shaw straightened. Contact from Earth meant this situation had escalated to the highest levels of human government. On screen, the man who appeared was elderly but sharp-eyed, wearing the formal robes of Earth's highest office. Behind him, Shaw could see the familiar skyline of Geneva, now dotted with defensive installations that had been activated for the first time in decades. Admiral Shaw, this is Secretary General Williams. I need a full report on your situation. Shaw chose her words carefully. Sir, we have successfully prevented the abduction of a human child by Council forces. In the process, we've also convinced the Great Dragon of Zerion to abandon the tribute system and align with human interests. Williams was quiet for a moment. With trust, Teddy, Admiral, are you telling me that a 7-year-old child has recruited the galaxy's most feared entity to our side? That's an accurate summary, sir. Williams rubbed his temples. Do you have any idea what this means for human council relations? Before Shaw could answer, a new voice entered the conversation. Zerion himself, his presence detectable across multiple communication frequencies simultaneously. Secretary General Williams of Earth, the entity said, his voice now warm rather than terrible. I am Zerion, whom your people called the Great Dragon. I wish to discuss the future of galactic civilization. Williams stared at the screen for several seconds. Mr. Lord Zerion, this is unexpected. Please, simply Zerion. I have learned from young Maya that titles often create distance between friends, and I very much hope we can be friends. What did you have in mind? Zerion's answer would reshape galactic politics for millennia to come. I propose a new compact. Humanity has shown me that strength need not create fear, that power can be used to protect rather than dominate. In return for Maya's friendship and humanity's acceptance, I offer my protection to all human worlds and vessels. Shaw felt her heart skip. Zerion was offering humanity the protection of a cosmic-level entity, making them essentially untouchable by conventional galactic powers. But more than that, Zerion continued, I wish to establish a new principle of galactic governance. No more tribute systems. No more powerful entities demanding sacrifice from the weak. No more children fed to monsters to maintain the comfort of those in power. Williams leaned forward. What are you proposing? Alliance of the willing. Species that choose cooperation over domination. Protection offered freely rather than demanded through fear. And humans, with their remarkable ability to see past power to the person beneath, as the bridge between mortal civilizations and cosmic entities like myself. Shaw realized what Zerion was describing. He wasn't just offering an alliance, he was proposing a complete restructuring of galactic civilization with humans at the center. There are other entities like you? Williams asked. Many. Most sleep to avoid the fear and hatred of mortal species. But if they could see what I have seen today, if they could experience the friendship that Maya has offered me, they might choose a different path. From the mining platform, Maya's voice cut through the cosmic diplomacy. Does this mean I can meet more of your friends, Zirian? The entity's response carried warmth that made stars seem cold by comparison. If you wish, little friend, there are wonders in the universe beyond imagining, beings older than galaxies who have forgotten what it means to be more than what others fear them to be. Shaw found herself smiling as she watched a 7-year-old girl inadvertently become the galaxy's most important diplomat. But her smile faded as she considered the implications. Zarian, she said, the Council won't accept this. They'll see this as rebellion, as the destruction of galactic order. They are correct, Zirian replied. The galactic order that demands children as tribute deserves to be destroyed. But I do not seek destruction for its own sake. I seek transformation. What kind of transformation? Zirian's presence seemed to fill the communication channels as he addressed every ship in the system, human and the few remaining alien vessels alike. For too long, this galaxy has been governed by fear. Fear of those stronger, fear of those different, fear of change itself. The Council maintains order by ensuring that everyone has someone to fear and someone weaker to dominate. She'd seen the hierarchy in action, each species keeping others in line through the threat of violence, with cosmic entities like Zarian as the ultimate enforcement mechanism. But Maya has shown me another way, Zarian continued. She offered friendship without expecting submission. She showed compassion without demanding worship. She treated me as a person worthy of redemption rather than a monster to be appeased. And now? Williams asked. Now I choose to become what she sees in me, not a destroyer demanding tribute, but a guardian offering protection. Not a monster inspiring fear, but a friend inspiring hope. Shaw watched as space around the dragon continued to shift and change. Xirian was reshaping not just his physical form, but his fundamental nature, choosing to become something new. The Council will not accept this. Came a new transmission. High Arbiter Zex, High speaking from the retreating Council fleet. You offer chaos disguised as compassion. Zirian's response was gentle but implacable. I offer choice, Zexahe, the same choice Maya offered me. You can cling to the old ways of fear and domination, or you can learn what it means to govern through inspiration rather than terror. And if we refuse, then you will discover that cosmic entities are not the only beings capable of choosing transformation. Shaw said, humans have always adapted to survive. Now we're adapting to thrive. As if summoned by her words, new signals began appearing on the long-range sensors. Human ships from across the galaxy converging on their position. But these weren't just merchant vessels and patrol craft. These were ships that had been hidden for generations, technologies that had been developed in secret, capabilities that humans had kept concealed while pretending to be weak and primitive. Admiral, her sensor operator said in amazement, I'm reading a human dreadnought. Multiple dreadnoughts. Ship classes I've never seen before. Shaw smiled. The Council always wondered how humans managed to survive and spread across the galaxy despite being inferior. They never considered that maybe we weren't as helpless as we pretended to be. Within hours, the system was filled with human vessels displaying technology that matched or exceeded anything the Council possessed. Warships camouflaged as cargo haulers, defense networks hidden in asteroid belts across dozens of star systems. Humanity's true strength wasn't in their individual power. It was in their ability to work together while keeping their enemies guessing about their real capabilities. This is remarkable, Zirian observed. You have built a hidden civilization within the galaxy's existing structure. We learned from history, Shaw replied. Sometimes the best way to protect yourself from predators is to make them think you're not worth hunting. And now, Shaw looked at the tactical display showing hundreds of human ships and one cosmic entity who had chosen friendship over fear. Now we stop hiding. Maya showed us that even cosmic horrors can choose to be better. I think it's time the galaxy learned what humans can do when we stop pretending to be weak. On the mining platform, Maya Chen was drawing a picture of flowers while listening to adults reshape galactic civilization. When her mother asked what she was drawing, the 7-year-old smiled. Flowers for Zirian's garden. He's going to need something pretty for when his other friends come to visit. And as stars wheeled overhead and the future reshaped itself around the courage of one small girl, Maya Chen continued drawing impossible flowers for a cosmic entity who had learned that even monsters could choose to be gardeners. The age of human subjugation was over. The age of friendship with infinity had begun. The council sacrificed a human child to their dragon. Then the impossible occurred. HFY Sci-Fi.